Chapter 713, Awaiting Labor. Question. If an ordinary person was given the chance to become rich and famous, would they refuse it? Of course not. Although Duan Jinghong had been in the industry for a short time, she had witnessed her fair share of glitz and glamour. So, there was no way that she'd settle for her current situation. If Tang Ning was willing to provide a chance to surpass Song Xin and gain fame and fortune at the same time, even someone less intelligent would not give up on such a great opportunity. Let alone someone like Duan Jinghong, who had always been slightly bothered by Song Xin. What do I need to do? Duan Jinghong was obviously so flustered that she had been rendered speechless. For Tang Ning, this was probably a simple decision, but for Duan Jinghong, it was enough to change her entire life. I need some time to plan it out properly, Tang Ning said before she hung up and turned to look at Mo Ting. This man seemed unaffected, but he had always understood Tang Ning's plan. After all, the suppression this time had sparked many ideas in Tang Ning's mind. Packaging Duan Jinghong for the entertainment industry was obviously the best way to make Song Xin suffer. At the same time, it would protect Tang Ning's stomach from any more hidden schemes by redirecting Song Xin's focus elsewhere. As for Elder Song, they were going to deal with him after the baby was born. For now, Tang Ning was going to wait patiently for labor. The next morning, Mo Ting asked Lu Che to find some information on Duan Jinghong to see if she had anything noteworthy. If she possessed some talent, they could immediately sign her on as a trainee at Hai Rui. If she had nothing to offer, they would find a professional and take another approach. From the information they found, making Duan Jinghong famous wasn't difficult to achieve. This Duan Jinghong has an average appearance and an average family background. She doesn't have much to offer except she is really good at dancing. If we debut her in a girl group, she should do quite well. Let's go with that then. Ask Fang Yu to make arrangements and to treat her like a normal trainee. If she fails in any aspect, then kick her out. Lu Che was confused. Wasn't Duan Jinghong an enemy of the madam's? Yet, Mo Ting wasn't only supporting her, he was even planning to make her famous. Mo Ting understood Lu Che's confusion, so he replied coldly without lifting his head. It's exactly because of her crimes that she will now act as a shield. Why don't we just deal with Song Xin directly? From Song Xin to the Song family to all the other complex relationships that are involved. It's hard to deal with them all at once. In other words, the Mo family's precious baby was about to be born and he had no time to deal with these people. No matter how important the matter was, it would have to wait until his child was born. Understood, Lu Che firmly exclaimed. According to Mo Ting's temper, he was usually one to seek immediate revenge. But this explained why he specifically trained up a Duan Jinghong to go against Song Xin. Because the Mo family's precious baby was about to be born. President, you must be really nervous. Mo Ting did not respond. He simply lifted his head and glanced coldly at Lu Che. Wasn't he stating the obvious? No matter how calm Mo Ting was, his precious woman was about to give birth to his precious little baby. It was only normal for him to be nervous. Focus on what you need to do. Also, help me make an appointment with official Lang from the Department of Culture. Is the president planning to meet with him personally? Mo Ting did not respond, but Lu Che understood as he quickly retreated from the office. Tang Ning was about to give birth, so he was going to prevent any news from spreading. Since Song Xin liked to compete, he was going to let her compete with her own good friend. Of course, Duan Jinghong didn't deserve pity. When Tang Ning first made her suggestion, she never forced Duan Jinghong to accept it. She always had the option to refuse. But Duan Jinghong still chose to go down this path. So, following on, she would have to handle the consequences on her own. Soon, Duan Jinghong received a contract from Hai Rui. Although it stated that she was just a trainee and could be kicked out at any time, She still treasured the opportunity. She really wanted to see how Song Shin would react once she found out. Of course, Song Shin did not remain idle during this time either. She filed a lawsuit against Hirui and requested to cancel her contract. On top of that, she demanded for compensation. She was brave enough to do this because she had both Xiao Yuhei and the Song family backing her up. Meanwhile, elder Song could not demand Song Shin to uphold the promise she had made to him yet because he had not completed his end of the deal either. Song Shin knew that her grandfather was committed to his promise, so she pretended not to know a thing as she continued to meet with Xiao Yuhei and prepared to make a fresh start at his agency after she cancelled her contract with Hirui. As for The Lost Relative, the review process did not take long before it was allowed back in the theaters once again. Although it wasn't as spectacular as before, the public were still undoubtedly impressed by Tang Ning's performance. As a result, even if the fans were unhappy, they weren't unhappy because the film itself or its actors. And even though the box office sales weren't as high as during the initial release, it still surpassed all the other films that were screening at the same time by quite a fair distance. Song Shin concluded that her battle with Tang Ning had resulted in damage to both sides. Although she didn't gain anything from it, Tang Ning didn't benefit either. The situation, at the moment, simply didn't look good. Of course, that was only because the big gift that Tang Ning had prepared for her had not been delivered yet. While Song Shin and Hirui were in the midst of their court battle, Tang Ning had already moved into her hospital room in the labor ward. Her and Mo Ting's first baby was about to come into this world. However, the media were completely unaware of this because Mo Ting had kept everything tightly under wraps. With the addition of Song Shin's current court battle, the media's focus was completely drawn away and they had temporarily forgotten that Tang Ning was about to give birth. Bai Lahua and Sha Yuling dropped everything to accompany Tang Ning at the hospital. Both women had jerks for husbands, so they regretted that they hadn't met sooner as they quickly got along like sisters. Tang Jingshan also visited with Xu Qingyin every now and then and anticipated the arrival of his little nephew or niece. However, the little human refused to come out. Bei Chendong was also dragged to the hospital once by Han Shinner. After taking a quick glance at Tang Ning's stomach, he sneered, "Let's not have any children." Han Shinner quickly snapped back, "Who would want to have a child with you? I can't stand fat people. Stay the way that you currently are. It's just right." Tang Ning burst out laughing at Bei Chendong's words as she asked Han Shinner, "Has this guy changed his lazy habits? I have no expectations for him." Han Shinner shrugged. Mo Ting's response? He quickly shooed Bei Chendong out of the room and explained, "I don't want him to affect my child's perfect genetics." Afterwards, Chen Xingyan also visited. Although she was still shy around Mo Ting, she still greeted him, older brother. She did this not for her own sake, but for Nzihao's sake, so Mo Ting could stop making things difficult for him. Chapter 714, The Best Counterattack. That night, when all was still and all the visitors had left the hospital room, Tang Ning finally noticed Mo Ting's tired expression. "Sleep for a bit. If you keep your eyes open like this, you will tire yourself out before the baby is born." Tang Ning's heart ached as she spoke to Mo Ting. "I'm not that delicate. I want to lay eyes on my child as soon as it's born." Mo Ting rubbed the back of Tang Ning's hand against his cheek. "Plus, I've noticed that you've been having labor pains, but I haven't been able to do anything for you. Every time I think about this, I feel slightly guilty and can't sleep. I'm more than willing to do what I'm currently doing, to give birth to a child for the person I love," Tang Ning replied emotionally. "Come up here and sleep with me for a while. I'm afraid of squashing you." Faced with this situation, Tang Ning didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is a double bed. Meanwhile, the media did not try to get news about Tang Ning. Only Song Shin exhausted all forms of methods to inquire about her within the industry. Unfortunately, apart from those close to Tangning, no one knew of her current situation, and those from Hairui had their lips sealed. Song Shin couldn't accept this, so she decided to hire a private investigator. Even so, Mo Ting had already arranged for a large number of bodyguards to watch over the room. It was difficult to even get a glance of Tangning, let alone gain any information. Mo Ting found out about the private investigator through the bodyguards. During his spare time, he asked Lu Che, "How's Duan Jinghong? Her legs recovered a long time ago. Although we forcefully added her to a girl group, she's been working very hard and has already adapted to the situation. If we rush her a little more, she should be able to debut with the rest of the group," Lu Che explained. "Then, it's time to make Song Shin suffer." Understood. According to Song Shin's temper, Lu Che could already predict, if she was to find out that her close friend, Duan Jinghong, had debuted and become an even more promising artist than her, how she would feel and how interesting her expression would be. But Song Shin had no idea about this. She tried to contact Duan Jinghong as usual, but Duan Jinghong was nowhere to be found. This was because Duan Jinghong was staying in the dormitory that Hairui had organized. However, Song Shin simply thought she had returned to her hometown to recover. "Jinghong, your legs should have recovered for quite some time now. When will you be returning to my side? We can still make a comeback. When that time comes, you can return to being my most competent manager." "But, manager," Duan Jinghong couldn't help but sneer. Wasn't she just asking her to execute her evil schemes? "Okay, I've already prepared myself. We should be seeing each other very soon. And it's set. I will be canceling my contract with Hairui very soon. When that happens, we can go back to how we used to be." Hearing this, Duan Jinghong couldn't help but feel disgusted. In response, she placed her phone aside and let Song Shin reminisce on her own. People were supposed to look forward to the future. Since Duan Jinghong had been hurt so badly by Song Shin in the past, no matter how stupid she was, she would never be Song Shin's follower again. After all, there was a completely different path available for her. She had already passed through many layers of obstacles that Hairui had given her. Although she was lacking in many aspects, when it came to dancing, even the other members of her girl group couldn't help but raise their thumbs in acknowledgement. "Jinghong, why aren't you talking? The reception here isn't that good," Duan Jinghong yelled towards the phone in the distance as she massaged her leg. "Oh yes, you're in the countryside, aren't you? In that case, let's meet when you come back." "Okay." After speaking, Duan Jinghong hung up her phone. She had gotten tired of putting on an act around Song Shin. In reality, she understood her significance towards Tangning. Tangning was currently waiting to give birth, but Song Shin was inquiring everywhere about her. So, Duan Jinghong's role was to attack Song Shin head-on, so she would fall into a panic and redirect her focus. This was what she owed Huo Jingjing and Tangning. If this was what she had to sacrifice to become famous, she was happy to shoulder it. Plus, she was going to protect Tangning because it was her only way of redeeming herself. A few days later, a new Asian girl group announced their debut in South Korea. Hairui was smart in this aspect. They allowed the 4 girls to first gain popularity in South Korea and get used to the stage. They also exposed them to comparison with other South Korean girl groups so they could ride the Korean wave before returning to China with their accumulated experience. So, the day after speaking to Song Shin on the phone, Duan Jinghong flew over to South Korea. The girl group consisted of 4 members, each with their own strengths. Initially, the other group members completely dismissed Duan Jinghong, but they were eventually stunned and slapped in the face by her impressive dancing. Song Shin was completely unprepared for this outcome. In fact, In her last phone call with Duan Jinghong, she was still filled with excitement. Jinghong, I'm about to win the lawsuit with Hai Rui. At that time, Duan Jinghong thought to herself, it's not that you are about to win, but, after dragging you for so long, it's time for Hai Rui to present you with another attack. Where are you at the moment? Song Shin did not wait for Duan Jinghong's reply as she increased in excitement. I'm overseas. Why are you overseas? Song Shin was a bit upset because she was unaware of Duan Jinghong's whereabouts. I'm trying to decrease the appearance of scars on my legs. Thanks to your bank card, I've managed to recover pretty well. In that case, when can we meet? In response to Song Shin's question, Duan Jinghong turned to check with her group leader. Her group leader was in the middle of doing the splits. Seeing Duan Jinghong staring at her, she quickly laughed. We will be catching an early flight in 2 days. In 2 days, Duan Jinghong replied to Song Shin. Good. Let me know your flight number and I'll pick you up. Okay. Duan Jinghong nodded. After putting down her phone, Duan Jinghong looked at the 3 members behind her and shrugged. The 3 girls had more or less heard about the situation with Song Shin, so they couldn't help but laugh. When the time comes, don't embarrass us. You are the secret weapon for attacking Song Shin. Do your best. I have faith in you. I've disliked her ever since she dared to file a lawsuit against Hai Rui. Stab her to death. To be honest, I am a fan of Tang Ning's. I came to Hai Rui because of Ning. But Miss Song ended up playing so many dirty tricks. What a bee. I've been wanting to slap her in the face on behalf of Ning for ages. Please excuse my aggressiveness, the group leader said before she covered her mouth in slight embarrassment. If you make Song Shin break down, I will treat you to a month of seafood. The 3 members showed their support towards Duan Jinghong, but they couldn't help but sigh. I wonder if Tang Ning's given birth yet and whether it's a boy or a girl. Once her Ning recovers, Song Shin will definitely be forced to start from the bottom again. Everyone was waiting for Mo Ting and Tang Ning's baby to be born. But the child refused to come out even though the expected birth date was overdue. The doctors examined Tang Ning's body. Everything was fine, so they recommended for her to continue waiting. Tang Ning did not respond, but Mo Ting was more upset than his pregnant wife, because he knew the longer that the child stayed in Tang Ning's stomach, the longer she would have to suffer. Hit the like, thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for listening.